Hi there, I'm Charlene Shirk, and welcome to Digital Champions, where we speak to some of the most innovative thinkers in the digital space. And joining us from our own backyard here in Jacksonville, Florida, is Tyler Reed with Bizwrite. Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Digital Champions.
Thank you for having me, Charlene. Glad to be here.
Oh, we're happy to have you. So let's talk about what you do at Bizwrite, because it's a lot of writing, and that's the one thing everybody procrastinates about is getting that content done. How do you help?
Absolutely. The biggest pain point we see with most businesses is actually keeping up with content. They get that blog series started and they're so excited about it, but then keeping that going just becomes a burden. So that's where Bizwrite steps in. We're just a professional content writing service. That's all we do. So we partner with a lot of agencies and large firms around the area, and even beyond. We've continued to grow just in producing that content. Pretty much on a weekly or monthly basis. We keep the content rolling, we keep it fresh, relevant, and compelling. That's what we do in a nutshell.
And obviously, as I mentioned, you get that blog going, you get that content written, but there's also things like websites that need to be rewritten and updated and done. And a lot of folks don't really even know how to add, SEO and key search words. And now YouTube is a big search engine. So those things need to be optimized. So can you talk a little bit about what is the challenge that most businesses are facing that they can't get this done, other than obviously time and maybe talent?
Absolutely. I think you hit both nails on the head there. A lot of places will try to go with a freelance route. And actually, as a freelancer myself, when I first started out, I understand that pain point. The relationships are not very long lived. The content is not always the best. And so after doing it for a couple of years, I finally found the niche of just producing professional caliber content. And like you said, it's across platforms. So like you, Charlene, for example, you're really good at these in-person interviews. You're really good at training people and getting them to sound their best. So if I'm trying to advertise you online, I'm putting out a blog series. I'm putting it out on LinkedIn and across social media. I'm making all these different platforms talk to each other, such that we're hitting on SEO, but also in content that's really well written that people want to read and actually digest and share. Google's EAT model, if you're familiar, is expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And that's huge in everything that we do. So to get that professional caliber content really takes kind of a next level writer who can get into a business, kind of speak that strategic conversation with the leaders, and then articulate that value proposition. And so day in, day out, whether we're writing a blog series, a social media post, or a press release, again and again, we're reiterating that value such that the customer can see that. Because, like you said, today's customer has so many different ways that they can search for you, and so many different ways that they can research you and see exactly what other people are saying, what you do, and how you do it. And they're savvier than ever before. So if you're disingenuine in your content, they're going to see right through that. So that's where we step in and we really become a partner, an on-demand content writing service that can be used at any point. And we really do consider it a partnership with our clients. And when we write, it sounds like we've worked in that industry for years because we use well-researched and well-articulated content.
And Tyler, I want to ask you, we always put our guests on the spot and say, what do you see changing in your sphere in the next couple of years in the marketing world? Because, the one thing that's constant is that things will change. And a lot of the folks have said when it comes to content and really appealing to the consumer, it's no longer about, you don't lead with the product's benefits. You lead with the consumer's needs, and you've got to meet them where they are and create community around your product. So can you add to that, or is there something else that folks should be paying attention to in terms of getting that content and really connecting with the consumer and converting the consumer? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you and I are both from Jacksonville. Jacksonville's known as the biggest small town in America. And something that I've always heard is familiarity breeds comfort, right? So if I know you and I understand your business, then I'm more likely to move forward in that sales funnel. So the very first thing I think that customers are looking for is authority in the space. And the change that has come is you can't just put out a blog series just to put out a blog series. It has to be well written, well researched, and I guess, thoughtful, strategic. So when we're putting out that content, it is truly next level. It's been well researched, it's been well written. And what I see changing is that the consumer continues to get more and more savvy, and that content kind of has to keep up in lockstep. So when they're seeing somebody, again, for like you, for example, on LinkedIn, they're seeing you pump out authoritative content there on LinkedIn. And then they say, okay, I like what she puts out. She's really doing some authoritative content there. Let's go look at her website. They start looking through your website, they become a subscriber, and eventually, maybe they buy that product or service you're offering based on the authority and the familiarity they already have. So it all comes back to that familiarity breeds comfort. We need to be almost like a household name with that product or service, to your consumers, to your clients. And that's a hard step, I think, for most kind of the freelance writers or the kind of the basic writers to overcome, which honestly is why our vetting process is so hard. And we've, had almost a hard time adding talent, but slowly but surely we're getting the writers in place that understand business and can write exceedingly well. And that combination is indeed rare.
All right, Tyler. And it's usually familiarity breeds contempt, but I like how you have flipped that because you're absolutely right. Once you get in front of the consumer, they feel comfortable, they trust you. That's the best thing you can do to get them in the pipeline. So I appreciate you turning that one around here as we're looking at what's in the future for digital marketing. Tyler, thanks so much for joining us today on Digital Champions. We really appreciate your insight.
Absolutely, Charlene. Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy.
It is our pleasure. And if you'd like to learn more about what they're doing over there at Bizwrite, of course, we want you to first go to dailyadbrief.com. Well, I'm Charlene Shirk. Thanks so much for joining us today on Digital Champions, and we look forward to learning something new with you next time.